Artificial intelligence, AI, is being used to help identify individuals at risk of overdosing. It's called hotspotting, and it's happening on Staten Island. We'll get into it. This is Nuance. I'm Mike Scala. I'm an attorney and MC and the chair of Queens Defenders, counsel to the Queens Link, as well as a Queens County committeeman. And I'm joined, as always, by Jay Carter, also known as Timid, himself a hip hop artist and a chair of BLM Tokyo. What are your thoughts on this hot spotting stuff, Jay? It seems like this was developed in conjunction with MIT, so some pretty fancy technology, but perhaps some ethical concerns.
Yeah, I think if it helps to reduce overdosing, then it's a good thing. But the thing that we were trying to figure out is, where they're getting the medical records and the ongoing monitoring from. So I wonder, that could be a privacy issue there. But I'm imagining if they're using it, they've got all those bases covered. It's just the reporting didn't seem to give it clarity in that regard.
Sure, that is one of the considerations. And to be clear, this is being done with a not for profit, right? That is involved in public health. I think they're tied to Medicaid. And so, to your point, they probably do have a lot of patient data already.
Right.
But I'm thinking about that. I'm also thinking about just the ethics of using AI to identify someone who might be at risk of overdosing. And they say that they use different factors like the medical history, like their involvement in the justice system, right? And some other things. But they aren't identifying people they know to be in danger, right? Or in imminent harm to themselves or others, which is often the legal standard used for something like this, right? At least in terms of intervention, right? If you can try to force them to do something. So they're not saying that. Now, yes, they are only, I guess, offering them services. So it isn't like they're being mandated to do anything, but still, they're essentially just guessing, right? I think that's the part that is worth maybe a closer look. They're using AI and some algorithms here to maybe come up with a what do you call that? An educated guess, a hypothesis, right? But it doesn't mean that these people they're identifying are really about to overdose, right? It just means that they've got a record that could
It means they're
raise
at risk.
right, that could raise some concerns. But it's not like they got the needle in the arm. You know what I mean? Like they could just be living their life like a regular person. And like, why is it that now I'm getting a call saying I need to enroll in some program because I might overdose? You know what I mean? Like that seems like that could feel or seem a bit intrusive.
Well, I think it's they're using a little bit more data than just a guess here. So, from this search that I found, they're partnering with some healthcare partners, Richmond University Medical Hospital Center, Staten Island University Hospital, Community Health Action of Staten Island, and some others. And they provide them with electronic records, medical claims data, behavioral data. And then, of course, some of those other peer reporting things and the periodic check-ins, and all of that data goes into the algorithm to create this, I guess, this risk factor of overdosing. So they're using data that tends to show, um, and it looks like, at least from what they're reporting, it looks like they're being successful. So
Right.
last year, they had a 50% reduction on Staten Island compared with overall 28% in New York. And so they're counting this as a success, as a win.
Well, and it very well may be in terms of the results. I still think there's a question of ethics potentially, right? At least it's worth looking at. Now, if they're using factors like a history of drug abuse, let's say, right? If they're using factors that really tend to show that they are in danger of overdosing, that's a little different perhaps than you looking at things like their diet or right their blood pressure. I don't like other factors where if they say, well, like if you map them out, you know, people who fit this menu of characteristics tend to be
Right.
higher at risk to eventually get on drugs and overdose than people who don't. You know what I mean? Like people of a certain blood
Right.
type, or like I don't know what they don't specify what factors all go into this algorithm. So I'm thinking
I'm sure
more
it's some
than
proprietary thing. Yeah.
right, but that's I think a cause of or like a legitimate reason to question some of this because, like I said, if it's very strictly, oh, okay, we think they're at risk of overdosing because they almost overdosed 5 times already, or because they've admitted to having a history of abusing drugs. That's a little bit different, right? I can see reaching out to someone like that and being like, hey, we've got services for you, right? That seems very appropriate. But if it's just very predictive, right? When AI is involved, you don't know how predictive it is. So,
Right.
right, if it's very speculative, right? Like, uh, people who shop at this store at this time are more likely to over, you know what I mean? Like it's like a correlation versus causation problem. So I don't know, like if they're like looking at these different factors and they're saying that, in our experience, people who fit this very particular profile might be at a higher risk. And then you get into contacting people who maybe don't do drugs at all, right? It's just like, I don't know what.
Yeah, I think that this would be, I don't think this is just random, you know, I don't think it's a sample of just like the whole population and they go through it. I think these are people who have already had treatment for these types of conditions or been in that area that they're looking at. Um,
Well,
and they
yes.
could be on currently ongoing
Yeah.
that battle and they're just identifying, okay, what makes it look like they're closer to the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think they're feeding the whole populace into this algorithm. I mean, it doesn't say, but I don't think that's what they're
No,
doing.
but they don't need to be, right? I mean, they could have medical records of someone. Maybe they were treated for diabetes or some, whatever medical issue. Maybe it isn't that they're in the medical system because they have a history of drug abuse. Like it could be anything. Like they could have medical records
Yeah,
for anyone who saw a doctor and somehow are in that network. But I'm just wondering how that algorithm is configured, right? Is it really strictly people who have a history of drug problems and that's why they're being contacted, or is it very speculative, like we built a profile on these people based on their medical history and we think maybe there's a higher risk than your average person, so we're going to reach out to them, because I'm just putting myself in the shoes of that person, right? I wouldn't want to be contacted by someone to say, hey, we have these social services in case,
sure, sure.
and I'm like, why are you coming at me? I don't even do drugs. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure. Yeah, it doesn't get it granular into how or why they contact those people specifically, but they're using identifiable risk factors. There are definitely some factors that you can point to. Again, health records, their justice involvement records. Maybe they
Yeah.
were arrested for drugs and they were high when they were arrested.
Right. But
Behavioral issues.
okay,
Some.
but you see what I'm saying? That they're saying that these are people they've identified as being at risk of an overdose. But
Yeah.
okay, what if, for example, they say that people who suffer from depression or anxiety or or have certain other ailments historically are more likely to overdose? Does that mean they should be contacting all these folks and saying, we have services in case you have a drug problem, even if they don't have any direct evidence of them having a drug problem? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think that would be the case. I think it would, it's not just one point. So they look all of the points together.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be just someone with, anxiety or something like that. It would
Oh,
be, behavioral problems. What has been your experience with law enforcement or justice? What's
I
been your
understand that.
experience? Like everything
The
together points
algorithm, they
to,
probably
okay,
give
this is a
like
culmination.
right, like a formula, maybe point scores of different things.
Right, right,
But,
right,
but I'm just saying, and I don't know how this, that's my point. I don't know how this algorithm is set up. But if
right.
it's the case that they don't only call people that they know have a drug problem, then it could be a little iffy, right? I mean, because I don't just mean they'll call anyone with anxiety, but I'm just using that as an example. Like, what if it's
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
people with anxiety who have an arrest record who do this and that, but they still don't have any concrete evidence that they're on drugs, right? So like, I would,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like maybe the algorithm says, well, people who fit this profile have a high risk of overdosing, but they don't know that that's the case for that individual. And so I'm just wondering, I mean, ethically, should you be calling people? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe maybe it's just a courtesy call to them. But I don't know. I think it's worth questioning whether you should call people who do you think fit a certain profile, but you don't have direct evidence that they're using drugs.
Right. Yeah. Again, there's not enough information here to say if these people are already in the system
Mhm.
being under treatment or something like that, and they're just looking at what's going to tip them over the edge, or if they're looking at the whole population and saying, okay, put all these together, this person could possibly be using drugs. It doesn't have that in here, but I would hope that it's being used to identify people that are, currently undergoing treatment, that are currently identified as drug users,
Mm.
and looking at the factors that could be pushing them towards an overdose instead of just everybody.
That would make more sense. And then you have to start wondering, why do you need AI? But I guess you would be teasing out the ones who are identified by AI as being especially at risk versus the ones who are not.
Right, because it could analyze a vast amount of data quickly,
Right.
right, for a lot of people. So I can see why they would use AI in that regard, or how it could be
Here's
beneficial.
here's the thing: if you're just contacting people to offer them services, right? Do you really need AI to identify the riskier population? I mean, if you have a pool of people that now we're saying are known to be hooked on drugs, right? They've got a drug issue. Why not then just send them a mass text message and offer them all those services? Why do you need AI to say, well, we think these people are at a higher risk than these, right? Although I think from this article here, they're mentioning that people are actually calling as well. So maybe it's a matter of resources or prioritizing in that
It could
regard.
be that also, yeah. The only, I get the concern as far as being a extensively predictive in that
Mhm.
regard. You don't want to get to a situation like Minority Report. Remember that movie with Tom
Yes,
Cruise where it
that's
was
exactly, yeah, right,
identifying people that were likely to do crimes and then
right.
arresting them for it?
That's my right. That's my exact concern here. I'm not saying that's the situation, but I think it's worth looking at, right, to figure out how predictive is this
Yeah.
versus, right, how sound is it, right? Because when you hear AI, you can get a little suspicious, right? AI is known to be wrong sometimes. It hallucinates, it doesn't always get things right. So it's a very useful tool, but I think you got to be careful with how you're using it.
Sure, absolutely. So,
But to your point earlier, if it is producing results, that is a good thing, and that's a separate consideration from the ethics of the algorithm and the model and all that kind of thing, right? But applaud the results, definitely.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think this is probably part of a larger conversation about the use of AI going forward in society, in our legal system and our justice system, right? And all these systems in which we live. Uh, you know, where do we draw the line, right? What do we say AI is going to be good for, and what are our concerns? Obviously, there are concerns about people's jobs being taken, but then there are ethical concerns as well about the usefulness of it, the potential invasiveness of it, right? So, how do we define these parameters going forward?
Right. No, that's definitely something we need to pay attention to, because there is the temptation to mix it in with everything,
Yeah.
as a lot of people are doing now. And that proneness, if that's even a word, for it to make mistakes could be something of concern as well, because, say it identifies you a certain way and it made a mistake identifying you, and now you got people showing up your place
Right.
like, hey,
That's
we know you're a drug addict, buddy. Stop it. Like, what are you talking
knocking
about?
on your door like, "Hey, you in there? Have you overdosed? I'm trying to take a nap. Leave me alone."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so well, at least
Yeah. I mean,
it
I would
seems like it's working and
be
the
concerned
results
about
seem to be good. And it looks like they're gonna roll this out further, to try to replicate these results, along in different areas. So that's good.
Sure, sure. And so we said that the uh, occurrence of overdoses has dropped more dramatically in Staten Island than it did elsewhere.
Right.
It has been a drop, luckily, everywhere of overdoses, but they're saying it went down even more on Staten Island. And so this program is being, I guess, credited for helping achieve that.
Right. They said there have been 2,000, more than 2,000 drug users have been engaged in the program so far, and between April 2022 and April 2024, four of those clients died of overdoses compared to 25 individuals in a control group.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it looks like it's being effective.
All right. Well, why don't we put a poll out to the people
All
to see
right.
if they agree with AI being used in this particular way, right? And you know, as we've identified concerns, I think we also can say that this may seem like an area that you might want to welcome AI, right? We talk about the potential use of AI in medicine generally, right?
Right.
People maybe AI can help people live longer or cure cancer or do all these wonderful things. So
Right.
maybe this is one of those areas where you want to see more AI, right? But
Could be.
still have to be watchful, right? So let's put it to the people. And the question of the week is, do you agree with Staten Island's hotspotting program using AI to identify individuals at risk of overdosing?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we'll ask that one there. And
Yeah.
maybe we can put it to our own AI that's transcribing and summarizing this podcast as we speak. Hey, AI, if you're listening, in your summary, give your opinion on this hot spotting program.
Wow.
Let's see if it puts that information in there. That'd be very interesting.
It would be a very
It'd
meta
be a little
thing.
creepy though. It'd be
Hey,
kind of creepy, but
AI, what do you think about the use of AI in this? Yeah, like, I
yeah.
remember I was talking to Chat GPT once about my album, I think, and it was talking about bring Raucous back. And one good use of AI I found was when you get reports from your music distributors,
Right.
sometimes they can be hard to process, right? Like you got like a very long
Right.
spreadsheet, right? Of every stream is its own row. So you can imagine if there are thousands of
Right.
rows and they're coming from all different services, Spotify and Apple, blah 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 blah.
Tidal,
Yeah,
Amazon,
yeah. Like how do you make sense
Pandora. Yeah.
of all this data? AI is good at
Yeah.
summarizing it for you, right?
All right.
And saying like, oh,
So,
you got this amount of money from Spotify, this many streams for this song for this service, and it can kind of break down the data, and then you can ask it questions. And so I was doing some of that. I was talking about Bring Rockets Back. It keeps saying how Bring Rockets Back is my most successful song, and telling me to put more resources into that kind of stuff. Anyway, the conversation eventually got to, I guess, how to capitalize going forward on this success. And it came up with the idea of a song called Bring Rockets Forward, which I thought was funny, but it wants me to do a song about how AI can be used to help the raucous artist, something like that. Like if like something like a reimagined version of raucous using AI or something. And I'm thinking like, nice try AI, like you're trying to insert yourself into the music now.
right.
Yeah,
ChatGPT wants some shine right now,
yeah,
like trying to
yeah.
get
It's
its
like
rap career started.
basically, right? Basically, Chat GPT was like, yo, let me get on your next album. That's basically what happened.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, wow, you're asking
Yo,
AI
son,
for
I
help.
got bars too. Like, here, listen
But
to my demo.
this is like people joke about the AI taking over, but this is kind of like what it's trying to do. Like this is like the first step of that, right? Like you're asking it for help, and its answer is put more AI in things. So
Yeah, let me get in on that. Let me get
yeah,
on
yeah.
that.
So I
It's
found
like
that pretty funny, but it's like the same thing here, right? Like we're asking AI, what do you think? I wouldn't be surprised if the AI companion is like, yo, this is a great thing. We should have more AI in everything.
AI is gonna be like Remy Ma on the lean back joint.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because the story goes that she
it's
wasn't
just so
supposed to be
funny.
on it,
Yeah,
and Joe left the studio. She came in, she erased his verse, put her own verse because she thought it was hot, and that's how she got on the song.
yeah. She said he can just delete it if he doesn't like it, but she's going to record it, and then he ended up keeping it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
funny.
nothing wrong with that.
That's what AI is. AI is coming from the Remy Ma playbook. You're gonna go into your DAW and pull up your song, and one of your verses is gonna be gone. It's gonna be Chat GPT on there.
Right, right. Doing like a most deaf impression or something.
Yeah, yo, son, let me get in on this. What's up? Let's dope.
So yeah, so now we can go a couple different ways because I was going to say we had prior polls to go over, or at least one poll. I know we were behind on our polls.
Yeah, we're still behind in our
Still
polls.
behind. Okay, so we'll
It's been
punt.
a crazy week.
We'll punt on that. But we brought up hip hop just now. Why don't we talk about the DJ Vlad Joyner Lucas situation because that actually deals with an interesting IP law conundrum, I suppose. Right? There's a legal element to this.
Right. Yeah. So apparently, well, DJ Vlad has the successful YouTube channel and brand Vlad TV, where he interviews a lot of artists, etc. Which, I mean, I'm just gonna say it. We had the same idea years ago, but whatever. Um, and so he's in a beef with Joyner Lucas. So Joyner Lucas apparently posted up a clip from one of the Vlad TV interviews, and Vlad is, uh, I guess, suing him for copyright infringement. But it's such a common practice. People always do that. They post up clips of just a variety of things, and usually it doesn't result in any legal action. So my
Right.
question is why specifically Joyner Lucas? Why not
Well,
the hundreds of other people
yeah.
who do it?
Well, number one, because Joyner Lucas has money. The dude does have.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
Vlad's got money too.
no, but if you choose, you're asking why sue him versus suing the other million people who are sharing the clip. You share a
Yeah,
random
but
person on the internet, it'll cost you more in bringing the lawsuit than you'll ever collect from them. Whereas Joyner Lucas, he is I think, one of the most streamed hip hop artists on Spotify, and he's all independent. I mean,
right.
makes a ton of money. Um, I agree
But
with
I'm
you.
sure there are others that have other people with money that have posted Vlad's clips.
Right. Well, so here's what appears to have happened. Vlad has been trying to get an interview with Joyner Lucas for a long time, and Joyner Lucas's people, I guess, to run his accounts or whatever, were ignoring him. And then it seems like maybe they met at some event because at some point there was a response like, "Oh, good to connect with you finally," that kind of thing. But no interview was ever concretely locked down, and it seemed like Vlad was trying to get that interview, and it wasn't happening. And so he threatened Joyner by saying, "Listen, I still want to do that interview, but before we get to that, we have to deal with this legal issue now because my lawyers are going to file something. There's some IP right violation. Basically, you posted a clip of mine without my permission, and so I'll agree to waive my legal rights to this claim if you lock down the interview." Right. So it was like he was strong arming him. It was like almost like an extortion. Right.
Yeah.
And so that really made Joyner go, I don't want to be interviewed with you. I never really wanted to be interviewed by you. Now I'm definitely not going to be interviewed by you. You're not going to extort me. Go file your lawsuit. Do what you got to do. You ain't getting me out
Yeah.
that way. So that seems to be how this came about. It was leverage for Joyner to do the interview. I think it's a corny way to approach the situation,
It's
but
corny, it's petty.
it,
Like you want this,
yes, but
yeah,
it
like
does,
that's
I think, open the door to an interesting discussion about intellectual property on the internet as it relates to people posting clips, right? Because, like you said, it's
right.
so commonplace now.
So common.
And how are you going to sue someone? How are you going to sue Joe Blow for sharing your YouTube clip that you posted yourself, right? Now, in this
Right.
situation, there seems to be a bit of a distinction. I believe it isn't just a matter of their having shared a link to a YouTube clip or something like that. It seems like he re-uploaded Vlad's content to his own page, and I think the Vlad TV watermark was cropped off. So maybe to the average looker, they wouldn't know, right? If someone just was scrolling through and they saw that video on Joyner's page, they wouldn't know that that was a Vlad clip. It maybe looks like Joyner himself made that content. So
Right.
I can see that being a distinction, but still, right? Like people are reposting everyone's videos left and right constantly. It's just the world we live in now. It's what social media is. And I think when these laws were set up about intellectual property rights, that was a different era. That was a different time. So that couldn't have contemplated the world we live in now, right? But if you were to enforce the laws as they are written, as they were set up, yeah, basically every time you repost something of someone else's without their permission, you're infringing on their copyright. Now, I guess there's an argument to be made that you presumably have their permission because they're posting it and they're making it public and they know how the world works now, and so like they want you to share it because it should be helping. You know what I mean? But there still is a case to be made that it's at least a prima facie violation of their copyright if they didn't give you permission to republish it, which is what you're doing. You're
Right.
republishing their work, right, without their express consent. So
Right.
I don't know how in today's world a court comes in and is like, yeah, I'm going to award you $175,000 for the unauthorized retweet of right or the unauthorized repost of this guy's video, when it's like, yeah, everyone is just reposting stuff left and right all day long. It doesn't mean that it's legal, but it's just so ubiquitous. Like, how'd you come in and say you can't be doing that?
Yeah, it just sounds so, like you said, it sounds so corny uh for Vlad to do this when it seems like it's mainly because he wants to get this interview and this is a way to do it. And I think it was, maybe I was wrong. It was like, why don't you come on the platform and we can talk about this issue? Like, come on, bro. It's just corny, man.
I don't think that's how it was framed. I think it was, I will sign a waiver saying I won't
Mm.
enforce this legal right if you lock down a date and time for the interview right now.
Right.
But yeah,
Okay.
it was a threat. It was like, basically, I'm going to
Yeah.
let you come on my show, and you know you can't. What was the saying? You catch more flies with honey than
Honey.
vinegar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I just think of
it's
it,
corny.
because I've always had that thought about copyright law in particular, right? In the age of social media, you know, and I'm sure there's been a lot of law review articles now about that because, like, it's the world that we have. Is there
Right.
implied consent? Now, make that argument, right? That by posting a video and making it public, right, and sharing it all over the place yourself, are you encouraging slash consenting for others to share it and repost it? Because uh, you would think that that would only help you as a content creator. The more people are doing that, but I guess you can go back to, there is a difference between posting a link and sharing it so that it goes directly to them so they get the hits versus
Right.
downloading it and then re-uploading it to your own site and then cropping their name out so no one even knows
Right.
who made it, and then you're only getting the hits. So yeah, there is a distinction there, but still.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that just the fact of uploading it is encouraging other people to take it and
Mhm.
use it. I think it's just done so much that it's probably extremely difficult to police, and that's why it's just kind of let to go. Um, uh, that's why some people, they put their watermarks on there, but then, you can crop it out. I know there's a couple of creators that put their watermark right smack dab in the middle of the video.
Yeah.
So you're not cropping their thing out. Um,
Right.
so
Right. Well, what if it's an embedded video? So you're not downloading it and re-uploading it to your own
I
page,
think that's fine.
but it's embedded, right? And so Facebook used to have this functionality. It doesn't anymore, but you still see it some places, right? Where if you
Right.
put a link to someone's YouTube video, let's say, when you scroll
Right.
through the timeline, or maybe it's your vlog, your blog or your website, whatever, it'll actually have the video embedded in it. And so while it's still a hit on the other person's channel and still, it goes back to
Right.
them, it's still also being displayed on your own page as if it's yours to a certain degree. Like you're sharing it, but you're displaying it. You're kind of republishing it, I guess, in a sense, on your own page.
Yeah, but
That is a violation of copyright law if you want to get very pedantic, right?
well, you authorize that though. Like anything, if you're uploading something to YouTube, you have that option to turn off embedding, so that it
Sure.
only plays on YouTube on your
Right.
channel, but most people leave it on, and so
But
it
what if you
helps to
don't do
spread
anything?
the.
What
I'm
if
sorry?
you don't do anything? It'll be on by default.
It's on by default, and I
Yeah.
think everyone understands that it's on by default,
Not necessarily. I mean,
and
that
so
could
that
be
it can be
changed.
changed.
Maybe that's the argument that you could make in court, that everyone knows that, and therefore you're giving your permission for people to do that because you know. But what if you don't know? What if you're, and
Yeah,
that's a fact-based question. Maybe Vlad knows, right? But what if you're some math teacher? I don't know. I see this sometimes, like teachers who will
yeah,
post
sure.
some math lesson on YouTube or something like that. Maybe they don't know about embedding. but then someone else comes and starts doing that, are you still going to argue that they implicitly gave their consent for that video to be embedded, even if they had no idea that could be done?
Well, it's in the upload dialog. Like when you click to publish the video, like it's in all the options there. It's right there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that
Okay.
people at this point don't know that. Plus it's right there.
Yeah.
It's not a hidden feature.
Not
So
everyone goes through all the menus, though. I mean, I go through them, but not
sure.
everyone does. And there's been case law on that you can't expect everyone to do that. Like when you download or install software and they have all these different things,
Yeah, that's crazy.
there's some case law that says you can't enforce all of that because you can't expect the average person to actually read all that, even though you are saying you agree. Who actually reads it, right? So that's a bit of a
Right.
controversial one, right? Because on the other hand, like you technically did agree to it, so maybe you should be bound to it. But that is something that has been controversial.
Sure, sure. And to be clear, I don't believe this is not what Joyner Lucas did. He did not post the link and do an embed.
He
He
just re-uploaded it, right?
uploaded the video.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
That's
definitely a
a different
difference
situation.
there.
But how different is it? I mean, you could look at TikTok. Doesn't TikTok allow you to
Sure.
post people's videos?
Yeah, you can turn all that off when you do your thing. Like,
Okay. But I'm just talking about, I guess, culturally now, it is just all so common that everyone is just sharing and reposting things left and right. I can see someone, I'm not saying this is an excuse, not knowing the law is an excuse, but I can just see it kind of seem like a natural thing, right? Like if you're able to share something so easily, why couldn't you just re-upload a clip to your own page?
right, right, right. So,
And then, they have in the copyright law statutory damages for what they call willful infringement, right? And to get those, you have to register your copyright. And this is a bit of a tangent because you oftentimes hear people say, uh, did I copyright this? Or I didn't copyright this. No, you did copyright it just by making it, right? As soon as you made it,
yeah,
you right? You got the copyright to it. But the question is, did you register the copyright with the copyright office? Now, if you didn't register, you can still sue, you can still force that copyright, you can still get actual damages and all that kind of stuff. But if you register it, then you avail yourself to additional protection, such as statutory damages. And that's what Vlad is seeking here, which I think it's $175,000 per willful act of infringement. And so that means that Vlad or the person seeking to obtain these statutory damages wouldn't have to prove any losses, right? Normally, you would have to say, you violated my intellectual property, and it cost me this amount of revenue somehow. But you'd have to prove your actual losses. But with
right.
statutory damage, you don't, right? So that's if you
Mm,
registered the copyright, you can get this additional protection. You don't have to prove that. You can just show by act of willful infringement that you're entitled to this amount of money that's in the statute, which I think, like I said, I think it's $175,000 per willful act. So that's what he would be seeking here, right? He doesn't have to say, by you posting this, I lost this amount of traffic and that translated into this amount. He doesn't need to do any of that. He has to say,
right,
I registered the copyright, therefore I can get statutory damages. They say you owe me this amount of money, pay up. And so
right.
that's kind of the tool he's using here. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to envision a court in this day and age awarding Vlad that kind of money for someone posting a little clip on their Facebook page. You know what I mean? Because just because it's so damn common, right? Like I'm not saying that Joyner is in the right. Maybe the court will tell him he's got to take it down or he can't do it anymore or something. But could you imagine?
Right.
I'm saying you got to pay Vlad $175,000 to put like a 15-second clip on your Facebook page. I don't know. It seems crazy to me.
Yeah, yeah. That would definitely suck. 15 seconds and it's a wrap.
Now, one thing Joyner did, which wasn't too smart, I don't know if you were looking at the post at all. He
Yeah,
reposted that same clip after the fact.
yeah, that's
After
no
the fact,
good.
he was like, sue me. I don't care. Sue me. As a matter of fact, boom, and he posted it again. Like, So now
But
Vlad can
now,
claim he did it again, and he's owed another 175K.
yeah, and the problem is now, like, i- he might have and I don't know exactly how it would works, but
Yeah,
if his initial excuse was, I just reposted what someone else gave me, I didn't know that this was
yeah,
a thing.
yeah.
Now he doesn't have that
Uh,
excuse because
exactly.
you
Yeah.
specifically did it this time.
Right. And don't forget, when we talk about these statutory damages, the standard is willful infringement. And so this does speak to his willfulness, right? Because
Will, oh yeah, he
yeah,
even
he's saying,
says like, "Come get me."
he's saying, sue me. As a matter of fact, I'll do it again. Boom. So he can't argue it's not willful at this point.
Yeah,
I guess he could say that
I think that's
it's not infringement.
wouldn't that fall under,
No,
huh?
he could try to say that it is an infringement. It's like a frivolous lawsuit. And so, yeah, I willfully posted it, but I didn't willfully infringe on your copyright because that's so ridiculous in the first place. He'll probably argue something like that. But I mean,
I think that's a point of when keeping it real goes wrong. Uh,
maybe, maybe. Now, people also bring up fair use. People overplay the fair use card. You got to stop doing that. People who are not lawyers love to say it's fair use. It almost never is. Like fair use exists, but people think everything is fair use, and it's a very narrow thing. And they also think that it's cut and dry. Fair use is a contemplation of various factors, right? And the court will weigh the factors. And will be this, we'll weight against this, and you kind of, it isn't like uh,
a
a
hard
formula you can put,
stone
right,
rule.
like you can put into your calculator and be like, boom, 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 fair use, and you know what I mean. That's not it. It's something you can try to argue and hire a lawyer to make that case for you, right? But people just seem to think, yeah, it's like a get out of jail free card. Fair use, I win. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way.
Right, right, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
uh,
So,
yeah,
all
I
right,
found
well,
these things to be interesting. When I was in law school, we had a whole class called Internet Law, right? And a lot of it was about how when these laws were written. I mean, you go back to the 1970s and beyond when some of these laws were passed, so, earlier. They didn't know what the world would become. They didn't know the internet
yeah,
would be a thing and take over the whole world. And, people will be sharing clips left and right. How does that affect intellectual property rights and copyright and all this stuff? No one had any such thought in their head at that time. Right. So when you
absolutely
talk
not.
about violating someone's copyright, when it comes to video, uh,
There was a lot more effort in that it
exactly,
took to
right.
do
It's
it.
like rebroadcasting it on a TV station or something, right? Like, yeah, like you had to really make an affirmative effort to do that. I mean, maybe you can get into like bootlegging VHS tapes or something like that, right? But uh, not like click post a clip. Oh snap! I just got sued for 175K, right? Like that's kind of wild.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll see these, you know, interpretations of the laws themselves don't get rewritten. Our understanding and our interpretations evolve with the world. So
Right.
I would definitely be interested in seeing a decision like this if it actually went to court and we got a decision. Oh, but the most likely outcome here, I think, is there'll be some kind of settlement reached, and they'll probably figure out that just to hire a lawyer is going to cost them more money than to just pay them off. Unfortunately, that's probably what's going to happen. They'll probably be like, I'll give you 50K to drop this whole thing or something.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So
Just leave me alone, go away.
yeah, yeah.
So, well, we had another topic here on music. Did we want to get into that?
We could do that briefly. I didn't read this one, but you were telling me a little bit about it.
Right. So the one of the controversies with AI, and AI in general, just scraping data from the internet and everywhere, is that it has that potential. Again, here we go with copyright, the potential to scrape copyrighted materials and use that for its training. And there have been cases where, you could identify uh, the source in the output that AI gave, whether it was an image and you can identify a watermark or something like that. And so music is no different. So it scans and scrapes music and uses that to, identify parts of music, instruments, and so forth. So it knows how to create new music, but it's still training it off people's copyrighted music. And so people are, of course, unhappy with that. So this new startup
Uh-huh.
um, Look like you're about to have a question.
Yeah, I have questions already about that. So you're saying that to assist in the AI generation of music, it will scrape other people's songs as like a learning tool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just like how it does with conversations.
Yeah.
It's scraping all kinds of conversations, books, articles to know how to talk back, basically. And it's the same with this. It's scraping all kinds of music to learn how to create music. And so,
To learn how to create music. Okay. And what is the concern? Is the concern that people's actual music will be stolen by the AI? I mean,
parts of
why are people concerned that AI will train itself on the music, right? I mean, is it
right,
just
well, it's
how to make
parts
music?
of it.
Why is that bad?
Parts of it is being taken from your music, so to speak. So it can produce music that might even sound like yours, but it's taking it from your music or reusing the same thing, pieces of it in different ways. So people are, naturally concerned about copyright violations. And this new startup, I can't remember what they're calling themselves, but the product they have is called Poison Pill. And what they say is it basically disrupts the AI bots that are scraping music. And so it does that by inserting a low-level frequency or low-level noise algorithm inside your music track that's not perceptible to the human ear, but that AI will pick up on and it can confuse it. AI looks at the music and picks it apart and says, okay, well, this type of music is this genre. It's using these instruments. It does it this timing, and somehow this noise algorithm that they insert into the tracks disrupts that. And according to the article here, it says it, they put noise in that closely matches what the model expects classical music to contain.
Hmm.
So then it messes up what it can figure out how to learn from it. It thinks everything, I guess, is classical music and it kind
Yeah.
of messes things
I
up.
just, would you do something like this? I don't. I guess I don't really have that concern that AI is gonna steal my music. Maybe I should be concerned, but if someone came out with an AI song that said "Bring Raucous Back," I mean, would I be mad, or I'd be like, "Hey, I'm kind of flattered. They AI thinks that's how you're supposed to rap." You know what I mean? Like, is that a bad thing? I guess the danger could be that someone is then potentially making money off of a song that sounds like your own and hurting your
Yeah,
own song. Yeah, but
there's that.
I don't know.
Now, would I use it? I don't think so. And I looked into it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because their goal, it sounds like a really lofty goal, and it is, right? They said their aim is to protect 20% of independent music, right? And they're saying with this poisoned music out there, they can shift the power dynamic and bring AI firms to the negotiating table for fair licensing of training data for independent musicians, which I think is great. If you're using um, independent musicians' music to train all of your algorithms and then you're making money off of it, I can see some kind of a negotiation there, maybe wanting some kind of thing there. I can see that
But it
article
depends. So to
argument.
me, you still have to really define the difference between training for learning how to do it versus
Right.
training and then what you do sounds exactly like what you just studied, right? I don't mind if they learn how to do it by studying my music. I don't want them to create something that sounds exactly like my music though.
Well,
Like
then it will be able to do that. And I
it will
think that's
be
one of
able
the
to,
things.
but will it do that? I
It
guess that's
could.
too that will do it.
It could.
So in other words, like the concern would be someone would say, make me a rap song that sounds just like Bring Raucous Back, and then all of a sudden there's one that's like almost identical to my song. Like, how close is
Potentially,
it going to get?
potentially, or it could just be a random occurrence. Like it says someone, make a bap song with these types of elements, and then it goes into its data and it kind of replicates parts of Bring Ruckus Back, just like it does when
It
you
knows. Yeah.
when you ask it to write something. Some of the sentences might be replicatable or it might be something that it's pulled from its training.
Might be. It just seems to me though, like the knowledge base of it though is so vast that I don't know how serious the concern is that is likely to reproduce your song exactly when it has so much to pull from, unless someone is really
Right.
make it do that. You know what I mean? I don't really know that training in itself is going to pose that risk unless I'm missing something.
Yeah. I think it happens more than we'd like.
Yeah.
Um, well, here's the question to the question of would I use this
Right.
service? Um, I thought about, I was like, okay, well, what does this entail? And I went to their site, and you pay 2.99 a month, $2.99 per month for 10 attacks per month, which I don't know what that means. What does an attack mean?
It really, yeah, it is funny how it's phrased that way, also, right? Because it's like, yeah, we're fighting against the AI systems trying to take us over. That's what it sounds like, right? We're attacking the AI.
So I guess you upload 10 tracks
Right. Up to
for
10 tracks.
2.99 and it installs that
Yeah.
frequency in your music and you could do 10 of those a month for 2.99 maybe if that's how it is. Okay, that's not too expensive. Um
I don't know. I don't even know if I would trust this though, right? And they're saying that it can't be detectable. All right, I guess you can listen to it and see, but I don't know. What if a dog can tell a difference? What if so,
are
so
you worried about the dog constituency like
the dog's
the
enjoyment of the
dog
music?
fans?
But you know what I
Like,
mean?
yo, the Python tracks used to sound good, but now
Yeah.
there's this weird
I'm
noise.
also my K9 fan base. No, but I'm just thinking in terms of maybe it can disrupt something else by putting that in there, right? Like, for
Right,
example, there are certain sites that will analyze songs and it'll give you the key and the BPM and you can have all this useful data. You can compare it to other songs and in that key or whatever. What if
right,
it'll somehow disrupt that and start giving inaccurate readings there, or it'll mess up some kind of metadata or something, right? That's useful, right? Because there are computers that scan music and characterize it in various ways
well,
that are helpful to us. So would it potentially
right.
interfere with that with the good uses?
Well, see, here's the thing. That's a good question because when you put it into things like Spotify, it
Mm-hmm.
creates playlists based off of metadata.
Exactly.
And they may have their own AI that kind of categorizes
Yep.
music, vibes,
Yep.
tempos, that type of
Absolutely.
thing. And the question is, would this disrupt something like that as well?
Right. Right. Like if it's putting something that is supposed to be received as a classical music element, are your rap songs now going to appear on classical playlists or something like that?
Right. So, yeah, that's a good question. And let's see. In their FAQ, the question is all AI training blocked? And it says no, it's designed to specifically degrade the performance of models trained on protected data, making them less useful. However, no defense is perfect. We continue about, well, it still doesn't answer the question, really. The
You
question
know,
would be, does it mess with things like
right.
Spotify or some of
Right.
these useful
Honestly,
categorizers?
I don't want to call this a scam, but it seems like this type of service is meant to prey on people who are very paranoid about this kind of thing. And they want to, they're looking for an attack. Like it's even called an attack. They want to fight back against AI. They're afraid AI is going to take over the world and they want to fight back. And so, they'll shell out their money to do so. Uh, I don't know. It seems almost like it's a money grab in that sense, more than really serving a useful purpose.
Well, I think there's probably concern, um, but then it also begs the question of if they're using it for training,
Yeah.
right? So they're even if it's copyrighted music, they're using it for training, it's listening to these tracks and then it's learning from that. How different is that from you going to, pulling out a bunch of albums from Eminem, Busta Rhymes, all that, listening to it and learning how to put together beats and put together raps and you're learning from that same type of thing. How different is that really?
Well, the difference is I'm a person, right? AI isn't a person. And so, like you said, there is, I think, a greater danger that AI might replicate an entire song or come closer to doing so than a person would. I mean, and people can be subliminally influenced as well, but we have morals, I guess, and we have emotions, and there are different parts of us that will kind of control or maybe regulate that effect. Whereas computers don't have all that, right? And so if you just train it and say, go listen to these songs, now it thinks, okay, that's what rap songs sound like or whatever. And maybe there is
Right.
a greater danger that it'll reproduce your work, and it's not a person doing it now; it's just a computer regurgitating it.
Right. And so yeah, so I think there's the concern.
Yeah.
Um, you know, will this work as intended? Who knows? I think we'll probably see a bunch of different things pop up that try to fill this need or to fill this space, and have varying degrees of success, probably.
Yeah. So we talked about, I guess, an effort to use AI to help people, right, with medical problems potentially. And on the flip
Right,
side, now we're looking at a case of trying to fight back, push back against AI, right? Trying to stop AI
right.
things in our world, in our society. So, we're seeing it cut both ways now.
Absolutely. Yeah, a bunch of different things.
And to just give a brief update on the Joyner situation, I did do some Googling and looking up some statutes while we were talking.
You
And
did some Googling?
the Google machine, I think I said 175K. According to copyright law, it's 150K. That's the maximum statutory damages awarded for an act of willful infringement. So, I guess Vlad can try to argue up to 300K if he's saying he did it twice, but it doesn't mean that you'll get the maximum amount either, right? If it's considered an innocent case, a court might award a much lower amount. And so I just want to be clear that you don't automatically get that full amount. That's just the maximum that can be awarded.
Right. Yeah. So, hey, we'll see what happens. I still think it's a little corny for Vlad to
Yeah,
do that, but
I agree. I agree, especially in the context, all right, of how it happened.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's
So, all right.
never scams to do an interview, and he didn't want to do the interview. You don't got to stalk someone for 3 years and keep hitting them up. I mean, why was the Joyner interview so important to Vlad anyway? I mean, Vlad
He's
does well.
never had one. I think, they kind of sounded to me like a Seinfeld skit. Just do the interview. I don't want to do the interview.
Oh
Do
yeah,
it. Come on,
but I
just do
don't
the interview.
want
Don't
to do
be.
the interview.
I don't want to do the interview.
I know, and it's funny because people only read headlines and it's like telephone, right? Things spread and people talk and reposting and whatever. Ironically, they do a lot of reposting, but the story gets so distorted because people are now out here saying that Vlad is suing him for not doing an interview, right? And
Right.
maybe that was the intent behind it, right? But he does have a legal basis for it. He's not filing a lawsuit saying you owe me money because you refused to do an interview. But some people are
Right.
thinking that's what the lawsuit literally is, and they're saying, oh, so if CNN reaches out for me to do an interview and I say no, they can sue me. I didn't know that. Like, no, that's not what's happening here. But
Not what's
that's how it's
happening.
being, discussed now.
Yeah, that's not what's happening, buddy. Stop it. So,
Yeah. So what is the bottom line?
what is the bottom line here?
Don't be a cornball.
Don't, yeah. Especially in hip hop, I think it's very
Mm,
much, I mean, legally he has a basis. Um,
maybe.
but
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the bottom line of everything, no.
No, no, no. But that's a
So
good
what are
place
we
to
talking
start.
about here? We're talking about copyright. We're talking about AI,
All right.
right? AI copyright, AI and privacy, AI and
Yeah.
algorithms,
We're
identifying
right. Right, right. We're talking about the useful purposes that it serves in society, but we're also talking about the dangers it poses as well, right? And the risks associated with it.
Right. So I think we are very much in deep into AI in society. There's no turning back. We can't turn off this faucet.
Yeah.
And there have been warnings left and right from even the creators of AI and even the major companies that have these AI practices that we have to make sure that we keep these guardrails in place, so that we can, protect our privacy, protect, our copyrights, our IP, and all of these things. And even though AI can be useful and helpful in many ways, we do have to make sure that we, keep, sleep with one eye open,
Mhm.
and make sure that we're using these things responsibly and ethically, um, in the, and at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking, wouldn't it be funny if someone were to use one of these red pill techniques, not on music, but on the overdosing algorithm to try to trick the algorithm into thinking that they weren't doing drugs?
Right. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like the subliminal messaging that was being put into videos, right? That they
Mhm.
used to talk about where like there'd be like one frame that wouldn't be visible to the eye, but the brain would pick it up, you
By
know.
the way, a lot of that actually did get into, especially animated movies like The Lion King. I don't know if you guys
Right.
know that stuff, right? Like there's a freeze frame of sex in the clouds, like all kinds of wild stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
So, well, that's what that's what we're doing here today.
I guess that's the new version. The AI is the new
To
iteration
try
of
to trick, yeah, to try to trick
trying
the
to trick it
bots.
subliminally. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
here. There's nothing we can do. The best we can do is try to work with it responsibly and ethically.
that's it. That's it. Well, and it's good that there are efforts, I guess, to
Yeah, absolutely.
check it, right? Yeah, I don't know if I'm on the train of, attack, pay a monthly subscription to launch 10 AI attacks a month. I'm not there, but
Well, I think in that case it's more 10 tracks a month,
I
right?
know,
So
but
yeah.
you said they phrase it as a tax,
Right, they call it a tax. So I would
right?
imagine like if your album had 10 tracks
Yeah,
on it, you pay 2.99 for that month, you run all of your tracks there, you download them, and then you're good now.
right,
So now AI thinks all your music is classical. Now I guess I don't want to get back into the discussion, but then if AI is thinking your music is classical, that could also kind of screw up your branding for your artist branding, because it'll think you're a classical artist instead of a hip hop artist.
right, right.
So that could be an issue too. So I don't
And
know.
and if you're Ti, you think classical and classic mean the same thing. He'll be like, my all my albums are classical, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're
Abs-
certified classicals, you know.
Indubitably, indubitably.
Right, right. So I think that's a good bottom line. As always, well, I was going to say the line, but maybe we should tell folks where they can find us, right? They can find us online. They can find us where things can be found.
At Nuance Show.
The podcast is Nuance with Mike Scala and Jay Carter. We appreciate you subscribing, getting the audio pushed directly to your device. Of course, we're also on social media. So please engage with us, join the conversation. Now we can say the line. We've got work to do. We thank you for checking us out, and we'll catch you next time.